Hey, what's up everybody? 2016 Lexus IS200t. I'm doing the front brakes, the front pads and rotors. So once you get your wheel off, the wheel is a 21 millimeter lug nut. Once you get that off and you have your car safely lifted, you want to come over here and we're going to take this there's a pin right here. You got to pull this little pin out. Use pliers, needle nose. You could use dikes on it if you have to. Once you get that out, put it somewhere safe and don't lose it. Then we're going to take, if you have like a punch or like a tiny screwdriver, you're just going to gently tap on this pin right here to push it backwards. You got to hit this backwards. This will push that pin out that way. It could be a little stubborn. And then once it comes out, we're going to remove it. I use some pliers to kind of remove it. I'm doing this with one hand on my camera, so I kind of got to use tools. So you pull this pin out, and then this little clamp part will come out. So put that pin to the side, and this should come right off. It's not too complicated to remove that. Now our pads need to come out. You need to push the pistons in. There's 2 pistons on each side, so each pad has 2 pistons. The little sensors on the inside part, we're going to spread these pads out. I have a special tool to do this. This will push the pads outwards and at the same time push the caliper pistons back in. There's 4 caliper pistons total. You cannot do one each because if you push one side in, it'll just push the other side out. So you got to do them both at the same time. So I have a little tool here. You could Google ways to do it if you don't have a tool. I'm sure there's tricks out there. Just go ahead and remove these. After the pistons are pushed in, you should be able to remove these. And then we'll set these to the side. These are factory pads. They have these factory shims on them. I have a video on Toyota Lexus shims. Just type in Guillermo Auto brake pad shims and you could get the scoop on all these shims. I'm going to probably reuse these. And because when you get new pads, you put the shims, you transfer the shims over. They're for like heat dispersion and like clearances and all that. So my new pads are here. These is my part number. These are from the dealer. So that's a Toyota part number. Lexus part number, my bad. I'm going to switch my shims over to my new pads. For my old ones, if you get aftermarket pads, they'll probably have shims attached to it. This is my shim kit part number. If you need to get shims for yourself, you can buy shims. I think they're like 30-40 bucks. Kind of pricey. But I'm doing the rotor too, so I'm taking this caliper off. It's this bolt right here and there. It's either going to be a 19 millimeter or a 17 millimeter. So I got these loosened out. I'm going to take these out. I use my air gun to loosen these. And then once you take the second bolt out, this caliper is going to want to drop. So we need to support this caliper right away. Don't let your caliper hang. What I do is I'll very carefully lift it over the steering knuckle and just kind of rest it. Just like rest it right here. That way the brake line's supported, but it's not stressing it or it's not stretched. It's just sitting right there. It won't fall on you. So I'm doing the rotor. My rotor's stuck on. It's rusted on. So there's these threads right here and on the other side. Now you could run a bolt through here and the bolt will go through those threads and push the rotor off the hub. But the problem is sometimes when these are like really stuck, those threads will just strip out. So if you're, I'll show you what I'm doing. So basically you would screw this down and theoretically it should push the rotor off of the hub. But a lot of times when it's stuck or it's rusted, those threads will just strip out and then they're kind of useless. So what I do is I'll put my lug nut on here. And then if I plan to keep the rotor and resurface it or reuse it, I'm going to hit it with my rubber mallet. But I'm replacing the rotors on this one, so I could just use my Thor hammer and knock it right off the hub there. Make sure you have a lug nut on the stud to make sure this rotor doesn't go flying off. So I hit mine loose. Now it's good. I hit it a couple times. It came off. Now once that's off, I'm going to get my new rotor. Also, quick note, look how easy this wheel bearing would be. It's like 4 bolts. You just take the rotor off and do the full 4 bolts from the back. That's pretty dope. This is the rotor. This is from the dealer. Heavy rotor, not light. What I do is I usually just kind of clean it with brake cleaner just to get any manufacturer packaging grease or oils off of it. Sometimes they come like kind of slimy. I don't know what's the deal with that, but I clean that off. Put the rotor back on, and then we put our caliper back on. The 2 bolts, tighten them down, make sure the brake line's not twisted or anything. I had to use this compound called Rusty for my shims because I put new shims on. Rusty is just like a little thing to hold the shims together. I put lube on the sides of the pads, and then should be able to slide the pads in. Now you want to make sure your shims don't get messed up because you got to let that pin go through 2 shims in a pad to the other pad and 2 shims. So you want to make sure you keep an eye on the shims, make sure they're lining up. Once they're lined up, you're going to put this little brace on and then put this little slide pin back through. I know I'm moving a little fast, so sorry about that on the second half of this. We'll slide this pin in. It could be kind of hard. You got to kind of push that bracket down while you're pushing the pin in. Once that is in, we're going to put that little cotter pin back in. Or not a cotter pin, I'm sorry, just this pin. I forget what they call them. I call them grasshopper pins because if you drop them, they're going to bounce and disappear. So there should be a little hole here. You can move it with pliers if you need to move the pin. All right, so we've got that in. Make sure you push it in as far as you can so it locks in place. And there you go. Do this for each side, and that's how you do it.
Your style is no match for mine.